So hi everybody and welcome back to the C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 358 and in this video we continue with our user-defined conversion function. And again we are using CPP reference comma, and you can find it when you go here to language and then here down to expressions and then here user-defined, and we have here our user-defined conversion function, and we scroll a little bit down. We have already talked about some examples here, and in this video we are talking about this example. This part here, it's a little bit complicated, so you have to research this also a little bit on your own, but I will just highlight some parts of it. So we start with this part first and try to analyze what it is. So first of all, we have here an int, then we have here a pointer called PA in parentheses. This is very important. And then we have here an array with 3 elements. So this part is we have a pointer PA and it is pointing to an array. This is this part which has 3 elements of int. But before we go on, let's clarify why these parentheses are here very important. And so I go here to Compiler Explorer, I copied all the code. Here is the same thing what we have like before, and now I want to show you what happens if we don't use the parentheses here. So I wrote this part here without parentheses, and we ignore now this arrow which just indicates we can't convert it without this parentheses. Okay, let's analyze it here. First, int is just the integer. Now we have again a pointer, okay, but without a parenthesis, which means this pointer belongs no more to PA. PA is again our identifier, and we have here again an array, and this array has here 3 elements. So it sounds very similar to this one, but now comes the real point, how to read this correctly. First, we start with the name PA, and then we have to say, because there are no parentheses, PA is an array. And why we have to say that? Because an array syntax, this is this square brackets here, has higher priority than the pointer, which means you have to go from PA to the array first. That's why you say in this case here, this PA is an array. This array has then 3 elements, and these 3 elements are, then you go to the pointer, because then say these 3 elements are pointers, and these 3 elements pointing to an int. So here the very important part is this priority of this array. And now it makes sense why we need in this example parentheses, because this here is trying to do something different. Let's repeat this one here. On top we have a PA pointer. So PA itself is the pointer who is pointing to an array of integers. And when we compare this now here, in this case, when you write something like that, you say, I have a variable name PA. It is not a pointer. This PA is just a variable name, and this variable name is pointing to an array which has 3 pointers in it of type int. So now we understand this part here, and now we have to understand this part here, which is strange because x looks not like a pointer, and we know x is an object which we have created here, and this object type x is here on top as a struct. As a beginner, we have now to understand when we see strange syntax like this one, that a conversion perhaps is happening here. And again, we have then to check the type of the object. Like I said before, this is x, it was created here, so we have jumped to the struct x, and then we have check if there is a conversion operator or anything that solves this problem here. And in our struct we have indeed operators, but this operator looks again a little bit strange. And before we jump here to this operator which we will use, we have to understand why this here is wrong. Okay, the simple answer is the syntax is just wrong. But let's analyze this a little bit more in detail and see exactly where. So here on top we have the definition conversion type ID, and you can read this a little bit more, and it says here the operator array and the functions are just not allowed. And this is exactly the problem here in our part. So what is not allowed here exactly is this part here. Here we have this array operator, and this one is set here in the syntax is not allowed. And when we watch now this part here, at first glance this could cause confusion, but we will analyze this one now too. Okay, let's start here with this line first, and it starts here with the word using, and we already know what does this mean. We are introducing a new word, which is this one here, and we want to use this word instead what is on the right side. So when there is something which needs the right side, we are replacing it just with this new word which we introduced here. And here we have actually a very interesting example, because normally you would use the word using if you have on the right side something very, very long and you don't want type all time this long thing, and you want instead type something very short like this one. But in this case here, in this example, it has a very special meaning which is related to this part here. Okay, let's analyze now this line here. It starts again with our operator, and now comes the conversion type ID. What is the conversion type ID here? It is this part here. Why is this so interesting here? The answer is RT we have created before with the word using, and RT, the meaning of RT will be replaced with the right side of the using word, which is int array of, also we have an array of 3 ints. And if this is replaced later, then compare this line with this line, then we realize that these two lines are semantically identical. The syntax is not identical, but semantic is the same, because like I mentioned before, RT is just an alias, which means just a placeholder for this one. And if I replace the compiler, replace this one with this one here, this both are semantically the same, not syntactically. And now we come to the most important part, which is this comment here, and it says here this version, this line here is okay because it has a type def, but the other version, which is semantically the same, is not okay. And the reason for that is because this one is here using this array operator directly in the syntax, and this one here is using the array operator not, because it is using an alias, and this one is described here in the next line, which you can read here. It is using a type def or alias. And here we can also now see why using is here very important, because if we are not use the word using here and change here this type here to a word, to an alias, this line would also not work. Okay, and let's analyze the last line here, which is an arrow, and we can already read here the comment. It says here conversion to an array not allowed in any case. Okay, and when we compare now this line with this line, we see that the only real difference is this little asterisk, and that's why this one will throw an error, because it says to a plain array it's not allowed, because here on top the type is a pointer to an array, and here we have just an array, and this is also stated here in this line here on top. Okay, that's enough for this video again, and if you have any questions like all time, write in the comment section. See you in the next video. Bye and good luck.